The story begins as a crime boss celebrates with his partners, since they've survived for 15 years in their business. They prepare to have a toast, so the boss gets his poison checker to taste it first, and he notes that it's safe. But when the boss takes a sip, he dies from poison, and his men immediately grab the tester, allowing the waiter to escape while they're all distracted. We learn that the waiter Hikaru is actually an assassin from the Garo family, who are specialists in poison, and his younger sister Ikari wonders how he was able to trick the tester, so he explains that he spent 3 months adding small doses of poison to the tester's food to build up his immunity to a lethal dose. Ikari finds his process boring, but Hikaru explains that nobody expects them to go to such lengths, which is why they've been able to stay in the business. She wonders if he's thought about marriage, but he wonders if she really thinks it's possible for him, because he barely meets any women in his line of work. He recalls how their grandmother wanted one of them to lead the poison clan, but he refused since he was still single, so she tried to match him up with someone, but it didn't work out. He thinks that their clan will end with them, since he can't find a partner, while Ikari is into girls. He thinks they should just carry on with their lives, but he gets a message from an old friend, who wants to meet up with him. Hikaru meets the bug master Toshiki, and they talk about how the needle master already has 3 kids, but Hikaru thinks he'll be single forever. Toshiki reveals that he's also getting married to a girl who loves him for who he really is, but he assures Hikaru it won't change their friendship. Hikaru congratulates him, and as Toshiki prepares to leave, Hikaru admits that hearing his friend talk about getting married makes it seem less scary. The next day, a man hires Hikaru to eliminate a marriage swindler named Mei, so Hikaru injects her with a nerve paralysis serum. He explains that the pain will work its way to her brain, and he'll finish her with a deadly poison, but instead of being frightened, she starts to flirt with him. Hikaru thinks it's one of her tricks, but she admits that she's done terrible things in the past, since she needed money to pay for her brother's treatment, but it still wasn't enough. She coughs up blood, but she's relieved that she'll die seeing someone who looks like her first love, and she asks for his name. Meanwhile, the man who hired Hikaru watches everything, but his friends wonder if Hikaru is the right person for the job. So he assures them that Hikaru is a poison master, who came from one of the oldest families in the assassination business. Ikari calls Hikaru to tell him that she's moving back to the main house, because she's decided to marry a branch family member, who also needs to get married. She reveals that their grandmother talked to her, and threatened to take away her freedom if they didn't continue the bloodline. So she decided to do things on her own terms instead, and notes that she'll end things with her girlfriend, but Hikaru tells her to wait. He proposes to Mei, telling her he needs a wife to become the next head of the poison clan, and he promises to help pay for her brother's treatment. She pretends to be happy, but suddenly changes her tone, and notes that she only flirted with him for fun, because she was dying anyway. She mentions that if he's really serious about finding a partner, he needs to be honest about his feelings, and she wonders if he only wants to get married for an inheritance. His client tells him to hurry, but he notes that he only kills people who deserve to die, because he wants to have a clear conscience that lets him sleep at night. He mentions how he wishes for a happy and peaceful life, with someone who loves him for who he is, but he doesn't think it can happen, because he can't show weakness by opening up to a stranger. Mei laughs since he just shared his deepest feelings with her, and she thinks that even though it won't be easy, he can still find someone who loves him by meeting other people. She starts to cry, since she thinks her brother won't survive for long after she's gone, and Hikaru's client orders him to kill her, but he refuses since he wants to hire her as his marriage advisor. He tells her to help him get married, and promises to keep her brother alive, and she's surprised to hear his offer. A bullet suddenly flies past her, and Hikaru's client threatens to kill them, as he notes that killing a poison master will make his group famous. Hikaru notes that they take jobs from people at incredibly low rates, so they can blackmail them once they're done. But the man thinks there's nothing wrong with it, so Hikaru realizes he meets his target requirements. He injects a serum into his body, which causes his eyes to turn green, and he puts on a gas mask. The man orders his friends to shoot him, but he suddenly disappears, and they realize he's already above them. He poisons all of them in an instant, and calls Ikari to tell her she doesn't need to break up with her girlfriend, because he'll take over as the next head of the clan. The man tries to escape, but he can't get past the armored glass, and Hikaru poisons him from behind. After that, Mei asks Hikaru to carry her to the car, since she's still paralyzed, but he tells her he's never touched a girl outside of work. but she tells him not to worry since she's actually a man dressed as a girl. At the hotel, Mei notes that he'll teach Hikaru how to attract both men and women and reveals that he already signed him up for a matchmaking event. As they arrive at the event, Mei notices there are a lot of men, so he dresses as a woman to draw away the competition. Hikaru sits with a girl, but he tries to impress her with his money, so she immediately loses interest. Mei tells him to change his tactics, so he smiles at the other girls, but they all find him creepy, so he thinks he's hopeless. But Mei doesn't give up and helps him find a girl on a dating app. Hikaru goes on a date, but he struggles to eat his food because he was trained not to eat anything he didn't prepare himself. His date realizes he's a weirdo, and he gathers the courage to take a bite, but realizes that she already left. On their way home, Mei is suddenly kidnapped by a man who wants to know what he did to his brother and notes that his brother changed after he met him. Mei claims that he knows nothing, but the man shoots him with a lead pellet and tells him there's more where that came from. The man invites him to work with them again, but he refuses, so the man prepares to ruin his face, but Hikaru suddenly appears. The man tells the driver to run him over, but he jumps over their car and cuts it in half, which causes the driver to lose control. The car falls off the bridge, but Hikaru uses his super speed to save Mei just in time, and he thanks Mei for helping him with the girls. Mei asks for his number and becomes his first friend, but Mei admits that he feels drawn to him and he realizes he has found Hikaru's real charm. The next evening, Mei invites Hikaru to an art gallery on a cruise ship where they will rehearse a possible date because he wants to make sure Hikaru knows how to keep a girl entertained. Mei asks Hikaru to talk about the paintings, but he doesn't know what to say since he doesn't understand art, and Mei tells him he's terrible. But when he sees a 40-year-old DIY candy kid, he starts to talk, since he knows a lot about it. He also notices a strange painting, and notes that it looks better when they tilt their heads, so Mei gives it a try, and tells him he's right. He realizes Hikaru has potential, and he points to a strange man sitting on the floor, asking Hikaru what he thinks of him. Hikaru thinks he's homeless or unwell, but Mei reveals that he's a famous artist, and his fans gather around him to get his autograph. Mei explains that people are drawn to others because of their unique talents, so even though he might look odd to strangers, his fans love him for his artistic ability. Hikaru thinks he doesn't have anything like that, but Mei reminds him of how he cleared out an entire room of dangerous men, and Mei thinks that that's his charm. He tells Hikaru to forget dating apps and matchmaking parties, because the best way for him to find a partner is by helping people, since it will let the girls see his true talent. At night, the ship's guards discover that a painting is missing, and they realize it's the work of a famous art thief named Himakawa. She rides her shark to escape, and she reaches an island, where she sees the rest of her team waiting for her. She swims toward them, but a whirlpool suddenly pulls them underwater, and she sees a girl named Shizuku, who jumps toward her. As they have dinner, Mei tells Hikaru about a site called Darknav, where criminals post ads for different jobs, and he's surprised to learn that Hikaru only finds jobs through a broker. As he searches the site, he notices a job that involves Himakawa, and he decides to accept it. They soon meet her supporters, who explain that Himakawa is labeled as an art thief, but she's actually a good person who steals art from collectors to return it to its rightful owners. Hikaru is the only person who came to the meeting because they have a limited budget, but they wonder if he's qualified for the job. So Mei assures them he's a famous poison master, and they can't believe that such a skilled assassin accepted the job. Meanwhile, the kidnapper tells Himakawa to switch sides, but she refuses since she only steals for what she believes in. Her mission is to return everything they stole, including a painting that belongs to a little girl whose mother is gone, but the kidnapper orders Shizuku to torture her. Hikaru and Mei follow the GPS signal they received from Himakawa's supporters, and they run into two guards, so Hikaru knocks them out. Mei thinks he shouldn't burden him by staying with him, but Hikaru notes that he needs his help in befriending Himakawa since he doesn't know how to talk to girls. The ship's captain learns about the intruders, so he tells Shizuku to deal with them, and he threatens to destroy the painting if Himakawa refuses to join them. Hikaru rehearses how he'll convince Himakawa to consider marriage, and he takes out the guards in his path, but Mei tells him to just focus on saving the girl. Meanwhile, Himakawa accepts the offer since she wants to keep her promise with the girl, but the boss suddenly starts to hallucinate as Hikaru's poison takes control of his mind. Hikaru introduces himself as a poison master who came to rescue Himakawa, and she notes that they don't have money to pay him. He doesn't know what to answer, since Mei only taught him how to introduce himself, so Mei steps in and starts to untie her. Shizuku suddenly arrives and takes Himekawa hostage, so Hikaru injects himself with his serum to phase her, and he rushes at her, but she manages to dodge him. He throws Himekawa to Mei, and tells him to take care of her while he deals with Shizuku, but she smashes him with her water fist. She introduces herself as a water master, and notes that she doesn't want to fight him, because a battle between two masters isn't worth it. She promises to pay him 10 times his usual fee if he walks away, but Mei notices Hikaru's syringe on the ground, so he goes to grab it, but Hikaru warns him not to touch it, and Shizuku realizes it's a deadly poison. She explains that masters inherit modified bloodlines tied to their abilities, and in a poison master's case, they strengthen their bodies by exposing themselves to deadly poison. Hikaru notes that it's a curse, which forces them to finish their target before they die, and he thinks she has a similar bloodline, but she once again asks him if he wants to make a deal with her. He refuses her offer, so she attacks him, but he manages to dodge it, and Shizuku realizes his speed increases as he faces near-death situations. He continues to avoid her attacks, and she wonders if he refused her offer because he has a thing for Himekawa. He manages to hit her with a thermal poison, which sets her hand on fire, and he knocks her down before she can recover. He punches her away, and reveals that he's a stranger to Himekawa, but she might one day become someone important to him. Shizuku can't believe he broke her helmet, but she doesn't understand what he's talking about, so he tells her he just wishes to have a normal family that can sit together for dinner every night. Shizuku finds his ideas foolish, and she activates her special power Hell's Lashes, which causes high-pressure water to stream from her body. Hikaru dodges it, but she attacks Himekawa, so Mei sacrifices himself to protect her. She wonders why he risked his life for her, so he explains that it's their job, and tells her to run, but she refuses to leave them. She wonders how she can help, and they notice the poison syringe, while Hikaru struggles to get close to Shizuku, because he lost his poison after he fell through the upper floor. He recalls how his master taught him never to fight another master for less than 5 billion yen, and told him to only do it if victory is guaranteed. His master also taught him to kill anyone who learns about their clan's modified bloodline, since it's the only way to preserve and build their legacy. Himekawa jumps on Hikaru with the syringe in her hand, and he wonders why she didn't escape, so she explains that she refuses to run since she doesn't want to be helpless. But Shizuku suddenly grabs her, and tells her she's an easy prey, but Shizuku notices the needle in Hikaru's hand, so she tells him to drop it. He pretends to cooperate, but as it falls to the floor, she realizes that he already injected himself. He rushes toward her with incredible speed, and drives a poison needle into her neck, which causes her to lose control of her water and collapse. He grabs Himekawa, but he panics when he realizes his hands are touching her chest, and he asks Mei for help. As Shizuku wakes up, Hikaru tells her he knows she wears a suit that constantly surrounds her with water because she's allergic to the air. He tells her he read about her disease in the clan's library, and gives her a cream to help control her allergies, so she wonders if he feels sorry for her. But he explains that he's just putting her in her place, and notes that he's already done enough by saving Himekawa and defeating her. After that, Himekawa meets the kidnapper, who's still under the influence of the hallucinating poison, and he begs them to spare him. Hikaru decides to let him go, so Shizuku calls him soft, but he tells her that anyone who crosses him again will face his 1000 torment toxin, which is even worse than death. Mei asks Himekawa if she's okay with how things ended, so she notes that she's fine, and offers them a ride on the back of her shark. After that, Himekawa returns the stolen painting to the child, who's happy to see her mother again, and Himekawa's supporters watch the moment through the live camera. Himekawa calls Hikaru over, and the girl thanks him for rescuing her mother, while Himekawa notes that she didn't expect a poison master to be so cool. Mei shows him his brother's pictures, and explains that his brother was able to undergo surgery thanks to him, so Hikaru realizes he made an impact on all of them. He prepares to leave, but they call him back to discuss his payment, and Himekawa admits that they don't have money to pay for his services, so Mei tells her to join them for a celebration instead. At night, Hikaru and Himekawa wait at the meeting point for Mei, but he hides in the corner, since he wants to give Hikaru a chance. He texts Hikaru that he can't make it, which makes him panic, but they decide to carry on, and Himekawa takes him to a shark-themed club. Mei watches them as they sit together for dinner, but he realizes Hikaru has seen him since he's an expert assassin. He recalls that Mei told him to start a conversation by complimenting the girl, so he tells Himekawa her necklace looks like an old keepsake, but she reveals that she got it for free at the flea market. He tries to start a conversation again, but every attempt fails, so Mei decides to help him and connects his phone to the monitor. He tells Hikaru to ask about her childhood, but the manager notices Mei and tells him he isn't allowed to use the monitor, but he uses his charm to convince the manager to let him continue. Himekawa notices that Hikaru hasn't touched his food, so he explains that poison masters are trained to only eat the food they prepare themselves, so he always makes his food and eats alone. She notes that she understands that feeling because she grew up alone in an orphanage with no friends, but a terminal wealthy man adopted her since he needed an heir. After his death, she inherited his name and fortune, so she could have lived a comfortable life, but she ended up discovering that his mansion held a huge collection of illegally obtained artwork. She returned them to their rightful owners, but wiped out her fortune in the process, which is why she now works a part-time job to survive. Hikaru notes that the girl was the first person to ever thank him, and he thinks Himekawa is amazing since she spent her whole life helping people. She starts to cry, because no one has ever complimented her like that, and Mei signals Hikaru to ask her to be his girlfriend. But he only asks her to be his friend instead, which makes her laugh, because she thought he was about to ask her out. He explains that he didn't ask her out, because they don't really know each other, and even though he made a good impression, there are dark parts of himself he doesn't want to hide forever. He hopes that she will still like him after she gets to know him, and he notes that if she can accept that, he will properly ask her out. Mei is impressed by what he just said, but Himekawa tells him it won't be easy to win her heart, and as they see her off, she hopes he'll cook lunch for her the next time they meet. Mei tells Hikaru they have received a new job, where he needs to protect the only daughter of a powerful CEO, but he feels like it's cheating on Himekawa. So Mei reminds him they're just friends, and explains that meeting different kinds of people will help him understand relationships better. Hikaru's new assignment is to protect a rich man's daughter named Shiori, and her uncle Mitsuhiko explains that he must protect her since she'll be starting college soon. He reveals that Shiori's father Kazuhito built their company from scratch, but he died from an illness the previous year. According to his will, she will become the next head of the company when she gets older, but Mitsuhiko notes that their older sister Fuda refuses to accept the will, so she's trying to take control of the company. He doesn't know what she'll do to achieve her goal, but there are rumors that she hired an assassin who uses an unusual technique, so he needs an expert like Hikaru to ensure Shiori's safety. Mei gives Hikaru a fake student ID with the name Daigo Oshima, and Shiori notes that she wants to attend a drinking party, but Hikaru doesn't allow her, so she uses her cuteness to make him change his mind. After that, they attend the party, where they're all asked to introduce themselves, but everyone finds Shiori strange since she has trouble introducing herself. So Hikaru uses his own introduction to distract everyone from her, and drinks 8 beers in one go. They all think he'll vomit, but he turns the liquid into a water-absorbent polymer and believes he was able to impress them. But he realizes they all find him disgusting, and Mei thinks it was a disaster. The last person to introduce himself is a blonde man named Naruko, who doesn't reveal much about himself, and he notes that the only thing that matters is that he got to meet all of them. The girls think he's hot, so they gather around him, but Hikaru finds him suspicious. On his way home, Hikaru wonders why Shiori wanted to attend the party, and he thinks she did it to improve her communication skills, because she will one day lead the company. She reveals that before her father died, he told her to live life to the fullest, and even suggested that she drink when she gets older. She knows the first step is all it takes for people to like her, but she's always worried that she might hurt their feelings, which is why she's socially awkward. She notes that she couldn't even talk to Kazuhito and ask him why he chose her, so she wants to become strong enough to laugh away her fears, instead of being controlled by them. Hikaru reminds her that an assassin is still trying to kill her, but he realizes he shouldn't scare her, so he assures her he'll protect her if she wants to go somewhere. Naruko watches them from a distance and calls Fuda to tell her that Shiori's bodyguard isn't an ordinary person, because even though he appears careless, he doesn't leave any openings. The next day, Fuda talks to Naruko, and she's angry at him since he's taking too long to complete his mission, but he uses his ability to control her mind, and tells her he'll get the job done. She tells him to either force Shiori to decline the position, or make her unable to take the role. In the classroom, Mei wonders why Hikaru is paying attention to the lesson, so he notes that he's enjoying the school life since everything is new to him. The professor asks his students to name a product that revolutionized its industry, so Hikaru volunteers to answer his question and tells him about the DIY candy kit. Outside the school, Naruko activates his sound technique, and the effect reaches Shiori's classroom, where everyone gets pushed down by an invisible force. Hikaru realizes they're under attack, and notices it's coming from the rooftop of the other building. But the ceiling suddenly collapses, and Shiori is about to get crushed, so he quickly injects himself with his poison and saves her. Naruko watches the events unfold, and realizes Hikaru is a poison master, while Hikaru analyzes the situation, and concludes that the attacker is a sound master. He tells Shiori they wanted to kill her with that attack, so Mei wonders if they should cancel the upcoming camping trip, and Hikaru notes that they will let Mitsuhiko decide. He surprisingly says yes to the trip, since he knows how much Shiori was looking forward to it, but we learn that Naruko brainwashed him. As they ride the bus, Hikaru thinks that unlike his previous missions, he doesn't know when the enemy will attack, so he needs to always be ready. The girls under Naruko's mind control notice the countdown written on his arm, and they ask him about it, so he notes it's a countdown for a promise he made. They set up camp, and Hikaru impresses the students by showing off his cooking skills, but Shiori struggles to connect with them. She comes up with an idea to perform magic tricks for the group, and Hikaru praises her since she was able to entertain them. She reveals that it's just a skill she learned from her family business, and she notes that she got the idea for it when she remembered the trick he did during his introduction. A student tells everyone about the curse of Chladni, and reveals that the area used to be a village that sacrificed the youngest child to the local deity every 2 years. They would lock the child in their shrine and wait for the deity to eat them, but the custom was abandoned after World War II. The natural disasters wiped out everyone in the village, but the deity is still waiting for his next offering, so Shiori becomes scared, but Hikaru tells her it isn't true. Mei tells him not to spoil the fun, and a boy notes that it's time for the test of courage, but we see Naruko laying traps in the forest to kill Shiori. The students decide to visit the shrine in groups of 2, and Mei pairs Hikaru with Shiori, because he thinks that if they put a girl in a scary situation, she might mistake her racing heart for love. On their way, Shiori becomes scared and apologizes for dragging Hikaru to the camp, but he assures her that the place actually narrows down the types of attacks they might face, and tells her to just enjoy the moment. They see a selfie stand placed by the other students, but Hikaru doesn't know how to take a photo, so she takes a selfie with him, but notices that his face looks strange. As she looks back, she realizes he's gone, and she sees him standing near a log. But he suddenly turns into a dark spirit that crawls toward her, so she runs for her life. She locks herself in the shrine, but the spirit appears in front of her again, and she realizes it's actually her father. She's surprised to see him because he's already dead, so he tells her to calm down, and explains that she can see him since she's hovering between life and death, as an offering to Lord Chladni. Shiori wonders why he chose her as the company's successor, but his face suddenly splits, and a second face emerges, telling her he regrets making her his successor. A red pattern spreads over her eyes as she's brainwashed, and the spirit tells her she's a failure who will never meet his expectations. He tells her to use a rope to end her own life, and she prepares to do it, but she remembers making others happy, and realizes she wants to do it again. She runs out of the door, but realizes she's about to fall to her death, and she wonders what she can do to save herself. She brings out her umbrella, but it immediately breaks, so she thinks it's all over for her. But Hikaru throws a layer of water-absorbent polymer at the ground, and he jumps to save her. The polymer breaks their fall, and he realizes the assassin tried to make it look like a suicide or accident, because if they kill her directly, Fuda will become a suspect. Hikaru calls out to Naruko, and we learn that he was separated from Shiori while they were taking a picture, because Naruko hit him with a shockwave. He tells her they need to escape, but she notes that she can't even stand, so he tells her to hang on to him, and he injects himself with his serum before running away. Naruko activates his Mind Whisper ability to disturb their thoughts, but Hikaru knows what he's up to, so he gives Shiori earplugs. She notes that she already has noise-canceling headphones, so she wears one of them and gives him the other. But Naruko notes that it was a mistake to block his sound waves, because when the whispers build up without release, they become powerful enough to tear through skin. Hikaru dodges the attacks, but Naruko notes that he was never the real target, and he gains control over Shiori's mind. She breaks free from Hikaru and runs deep into the forest, where she hallucinates about her uncle, who calls her a burden that should be eliminated. We see that Naruko is the one speaking through the vision, but Hikaru kicks the illusion and uses a chemical to put Shiori to sleep. Naruko realizes that a poison expert like Hikaru can disrupt his hallucinations, and Hikaru tells him he understands his ability, which reaches into a person's mind and drags out their most painful memories. They run into Mei, who has been tracking them through his GPS, but Hikaru tells him to escape with Shiori. Hikaru thinks Naruko will come after him first, and he learns that Naruko had put a device in Shiori's headphones to give her stronger hallucinations. Naruko plans to take him out first, but he knows he needs to keep his distance because he knows Hikaru's poison needles are only effective in close range. Hikaru charges through the forest and tries to cut Naruko's wire traps, but his poison bounces off because the strings vibrate at extreme speed. Naruko summons a giant golem that charges at Hikaru, but it suddenly stops moving, so Naruko rushes to see what happened. Hikaru reveals that he used a plant medicine that causes surrounding vegetation to expand uncontrollably, which disrupted Naruko's string control. Naruko stays calm and notes that fear always hides deep inside people's minds, and all he needs is for it to grow, so he brainwashes the students into thinking the curse of Chladni is real. They think they must sacrifice the youngest among them to survive, so they check each other's IDs, and they realize Shiori is the youngest, so they run after her. Naruko brings out his violin, so Hikaru thinks he'll launch a special attack, but he just throws it at Hikaru and runs away. He tells Hikaru that even if Shiori becomes CEO, her life will only get harder because the rotten society will never accept her. He admits that she has potential, but the weak simply can't survive in this world, and he recalls his past, where he was forced to kill his brother. Hikaru wonders if he's scared, and explains that she has already started to conquer her fears since she overcame the hallucinations. Naruko reaches a pit filled with healing compounds called phytoncides, and plans to use it to recover because he needs to be in peak physical condition to use his sound technique. He jumps in, but soon realizes that what he just inhaled is the poison gas left by Hikaru, who set the trap in advance. Naruko forces the gas out by compressing his diaphragm, but Hikaru presses a water-absorbent polymer into his mouth and punches him in the stomach. Naruko laughs since he thinks Hikaru walked right into his trap, but we see that Shiori was able to get away, so the students look for another person to sacrifice. Mei tells her it's time to escape, but Shiori refuses and explains that she doesn't want them to sacrifice anyone since they'll forever be filled with guilt. The group prepares to sacrifice a girl, but Shiori appears before them dressed as a witch and shows them a fire dragon with her magic trick. She claims she can exorcise Lord Chladni, but they call her a liar and note that she wouldn't have run away if she were so powerful. She explains that she needed time to gather her energy, but she's nervous since they might find out she's bluffing, so Mei holds her hand to give her confidence. She orders her fire dragon to attack the golem, while Hikaru creates a cloud of gas around it, which causes it to burn, so everyone thinks the curse has been exorcised. After that, Naruko admits defeat, but Hikaru tells him he lost to Shiori, who overcame her weaknesses to pull off her magic trick. He recalls how he was forced to kill his older brother because their teacher believed he was so weak that he wouldn't survive in this world. Naruko wonders why Hikaru hasn't killed him yet, so he explains that killing isn't part of his job and tells Naruko to try opening up about the trauma behind his philosophy. Hikaru reaches the camp, where Shiori gives him the largest DIY candy kit in the world, and he can't believe how big it is. The next day, the students wake up with faint memories of how Shiori defeated Lord Chladni, so they think she must be extremely powerful, but she tells them she's just good at doing magic. Mitsuhiko arrives with helicopters, which fly everyone out of there, and Shiori tries to pat Hikaru's head, but he avoids it since it makes him feel uncomfortable. She explains that she always pats the heads of others while she praises them, and she thanks him for placing a filter over the students' memories so that they wouldn't feel guilty for their actions. Meanwhile, Naruko tells Fuda he failed the mission, so he'll refund the money she gave him, but she becomes angry, and her other hitman prepares to take on the mission. Hikaru and the others arrive, and he quickly takes out the hitman, and Fuda thinks Shiori is there to get rid of her, but she asks her to be her mentor instead, since she knows she has much to learn. Fuda recalls her brother's dying wish, which was for her to train Shiori if she ever showed real determination, so Fuda agrees to the request, since she knows Shiori is serious. Shiori turns to thank Hikaru and Mei, but realizes they're already gone, and we see that Hikaru jumped out of the window with Mei. Mei wonders why he left without getting Shiori's contact, so he tells him she still has a long road ahead, and she isn't ready for marriage. Mei is impressed since he finally understands how others feel, but as they wait at a traffic stop, Shiori suddenly arrives on a bike and invites them to one last drinking party. The trio meets for drinks, but Hikaru and Shiori can't have a normal conversation, so he offers to show her a party trick. He uses his ability to rain down beautiful flowers, and she also shows him her new magic trick, which breaks the ice, and they start to talk again. Mei falls asleep while they're still deep in conversation, and Shiori notes that there are still a lot of things she wants to do, including falling in love. She prepares to confess her feelings, but Mitsuhiko suddenly arrives to take her away, so she leaves and tells Hikaru to add her as a contact. Hikaru wonders if she's into him, but Mei tells him to focus on their friendship for the moment, and notes that their next operation is on Sunday. But Hikaru notes that he can't make it, since he needs to attend a friend's wedding. Hikaru tells Mei it's Tashiki's wedding, but Mei becomes scared when he sees Tashiki's picture, so he tells Hikaru to go alone. Hikaru tells Mei he's also invited, so he reads the message, and realizes Tashiki is actually a kind person. Hikaru doesn't know what to do since it's his first time attending a wedding, so Mei tells Hikaru to buy a new suit, and thinks it will be a good chance for him to meet new people. On the wedding day, Hikaru and Mei arrive at the venue, and they're surprised by how grand everything is. They prepare to greet the host, but a needle master named Tsunagi throws needles directly into Hikaru's face, and he drops on the spot. Mei worries for his safety, but he gets up and tells him not to worry, and we learn that Tsunagi is actually his friend. He pays Tsunagi for healing him, and Tsunagi's children run to him with requests, so Mei thinks he's a good father. He recognizes Mei as Hikaru's marriage advisor, and thinks it must be a difficult job, but they're suddenly interrupted by the couple's grand entrance. Hikaru recalls how Tashiki was the first person to befriend him, and he first thought it was just to get on his grandmother's good side, but Tashiki had no such intention. We learn that Tashiki met Anna while she got stuck climbing, and Hikaru isn't surprised, because he knows Tashiki likes to help people. The ceremony begins, and as they exchange rings, Hikaru wonders if he'll ever have a wedding like that, so Mei promises to help make it possible. The guests start to celebrate, but Hikaru notices that something's wrong, and one of Tashiki's spiders gives him a message, so he rushes to make sure his friend's wedding doesn't get ruined. A group of villains prepares to attack the venue, and their leader Yamada tells them to kill the guests and draw out the masters so he can get to the bride. But as he turns around, he realizes that Hikaru has already taken out his men, and he thinks he shouldn't have used Darknav to hire mercenaries. He fires countless cannons at Hikaru, which surrounds him with a labyrinth of flames, and Yamada thinks he won't make it out of there alive. He recalls how he once lived a lavish lifestyle, but he got buried in debt, and when he couldn't pay it back, a man known as the Puppet Master took his body as payment. Yamada was genetically modified, and had bombs implanted inside his body, with a trigger hidden in his back tooth, so that he could take his enemy down with him as a last resort. It gave Yamada a renewed sense of purpose, so he went out picking fights until the day he encountered Tashiki, who overpowered him and destroyed his limbs. He thought he was about to meet his end, but Tashiki suddenly hugged him, so he decided to use his trump card to take Tashiki down with him, but Tashiki disarmed the trigger with the help of his bug. Ever since that day, Yamada has carried a great hatred for Tashiki, since he thought Tashiki robbed him of the only joy he had, so that he could feel good about himself. In the present, we see that the spider protected Hikaru from the attack, and he calls Mei to tell him to give this speech in his place. Yamada attacks Hikaru, but realizes Hikaru isn't using his full power, since he refuses to waste it on him. In the hall, Mei gives an emotional speech in Hikaru's place, and since he didn't give Mei a script, he comes up with it on the spot, and uses everything he knows about their friendship. Hikaru overpowers Yamada, and throws him into the air, telling him to stay down, since he isn't interested in killing anyone during his friend's wedding. The Puppet Master realizes Yamada is losing, so he speaks into Yamada's mind, and tells him his limiters have been removed, so he now has the power to destroy the entire venue. He flies toward the hall, but as he sees Tashiki laughing, the memory of the hug returns to him, and he realizes Tashiki has a good heart, since he hugged a man who tried to kill him. Yamada changes direction and flies high into the sky, where he detonates himself away from everyone, and the explosion clears the dark clouds, revealing a beautiful sunset. At the wedding, Toshiki thanks Mei for his speech, but he's surprised by how much Toshiki admires Hikaru. So he explains that not all masters are equal, and reveals that the Gero family is one of the 5 great families. He notes that the Bug and Needle families are sub-branches of the Poison clan, and they're at a much lower rank, so they would lay down their lives for Hikaru without hesitation. He remembers that his father always warned him about the top families, and how they manipulated and destroyed lives over generations to preserve their power. So when he first met Hikaru, he expected him to be arrogant, but Hikaru wasn't like that. Tsunagi joins them, and he and Toshiki ask Mei to help Hikaru find a wife, so that he can also experience happiness, so Mei promises to do his best. Hikaru finally returns to the venue, and he's surprised to see Mei bonding well with everyone in his absence, but he thinks they're up to something. After the ceremony, the guests gather to see off Toshiki and Anna, and he flies away with her. We see an assassin who has just finished his job, and we learn that he hunts hitmen for a living, but his partner shows him a list of masters, and he realizes Hikaru is one of them. Mei teaches Hikaru how to win toys from a claw machine, and he gives it a try, but he keeps losing. He plays an eel-whacking game, and he sets a new record, but Mei tells him it won't help him win girls. They take pictures together in a photo booth, and they talk about the Hitman Hunter, who has defeated several masters, but his identity is still a mystery. Mei tells Hikaru to be careful, since he seems to be incredibly skilled, and they prepare to leave after they get their photos. They suddenly see a girl named Kimi, who tells Hikaru she wants to talk to him, but she invites him to take a picture with her first. Kimi reveals that she's also a master, and orders Hikaru to protect her from the Hitman Hunter, but Mei doesn't like her attitude, so he tells Hikaru they should leave. He thinks she can protect herself since she's a master, but she admits that she isn't a good fighter, and Hikaru decides to hear her out, because he can tell that she's desperate. She's immediately touched by his words, since she's his #1 fan, and she suddenly collapses, so he catches her and asks her if she's okay. She hugs him and notes that she's happy, since the Hitman Hunter can't touch her with Hikaru by her side, but he reminds her that he hasn't accepted the job yet. She decides to show him her powers, and she makes a strange sound, as she summons her partner Sirius, revealing that he was the one who found Hikaru in the town. Hikaru realizes she's related to the Beast clan, and explains that he understands why she can't defend herself, since not all masters specialize in fighting. She reveals that she doesn't really care about the Hitman Hunter, but she's part of an association that wants to take him out, and she's worried that he might hunt her down, so she needs a bodyguard. Hikaru wonders why she doesn't get someone from her association to protect her, so she explains that they don't care about her, since her bloodline is so weak that they don't even take her seriously. She notes that her collar is the only link she has left to the Beast clan, and she thinks Hikaru won't help her since she can't afford him, so she thanks him for his time and starts to walk away. Hikaru agrees to help her for 10,000 yen a day, since he knows she's desperate, so she hugs him again and cries tears of joy. After that, Kimi takes Hikaru and Mei to her association, but they realize the other masters are already dead, and they see the Hitman Hunter Nakagawa, so Hikaru tells his friends to run. Nakagawa suddenly stabs Hikaru, so he jumps away and stops the bleeding, and his friends run for their lives. Nakagawa attacks with his knife, so Hikaru jumps away, but his attack is so powerful that it destroys the roof. Hikaru realizes he has superhuman abilities, but he decides to fight him head-on, and injects 2 toxins into his body, which enhance his vision and strength. Nakagawa charges at him, but he dodges encounters with a barrage of punches, which sends him flying. He falls off the roof, but he immediately recovers and climbs back up, and we see that he's talking to his partner, who tells him Hikaru isn't a bad person since he helps people. But Nakagawa thinks he's dangerous, so he decides to get rid of him. He attacks Hikaru with a signage, but he dodges it and cuts it into pieces, and he quickly rushes forward, but Nakagawa kicks him down. Hikaru can't believe he can't keep up with him, even though he used his vision-enhancing toxin, and Nakagawa gathers the pieces, since he doesn't want them to fall on the animals. Hikaru asks him if he's from the Iron Clan, but he reveals that he's just a regular guy, and notes that his relatives are teachers. Hikaru thinks he must be a mutant, and he can't believe the masters are no match for him, even though they spent generations building up their bloodlines. He injects another dose of toxin into his body, but he reaches his limit, and realizes he can't handle the toxin since he's injured. Nakagawa prepares to finish him off, but he tells Nakagawa to leave his friends alone, and he accepts his fate, but Sirius suddenly rushes to his side. Kimi notes that she won't let Nakagawa kill him, since he's her favorite, and she summons even more hamsters as she prepares to use her ultimate move. She launches all of them, and they form a constellation, but it doesn't do anything, so Nakagawa and Mei realize that she really can't fight. Nakagawa prepares to carry Hikaru away, and notes that he'll take him to a doctor, since he no longer wants to kill them. He explains that he has decided to spare them since they look out for each other, but Hikaru notes that he doesn't need a doctor, since he can cure himself. Nakagawa reveals that his goal is to wipe out the Beast Clan, which is one of the 5 great families, since they're planning to do something that will get a lot of people killed. Mei wonders why he killed the other masters, so he explains that they got in the way, and reveals that they were dangerous people connected to the Beast Clan. Hikaru knows he's telling the truth, since the masters he killed have terrible reputations, but Hikaru thinks he's crazy, since he's picking a fight with one of the 5 great families. He notes that the world would be better if he got rid of all the dangerous people, but explains that Hikaru isn't one of them, since he's nothing like the other masters. Nakagawa asks Kimi what she knows about the Beast Clan, so she explains that she never visited the main house, but she suddenly falls to the ground. Hikaru thinks it's because of her collar, so he prepares to remove it, but a bat stops him, and notes that it will suck her blood if he breaks it. The bat reveals that she has only 3 days left to live, and explains that if they want to save her, they must find him in the Beast Clan's animal kingdom. We see Hikaru and the others on a boat, and he wonders why Mei has a boating license, so he explains that he got it to attract rich men, and reveals that he also learned other skills for his line of work. Hikaru is determined to do whatever it takes to save Kimi, but she tells him it's time to say goodbye, since he already saved her from the hitman hunter. She thanks him for everything he's done for her, and notes that she'll talk to the main family herself, but he knows she's just trying to be considerate. She tells him to listen to her, since she knows they're headed for a trap, and she explains that she doesn't want him to risk his life for her, because he's the Beast Clan's main target. He notes that he wants to take the risk to make her happy, and Nakagawa explains that he has decided to help them, since it's his chance to wipe out the Beast Clan. Hikaru tells Mei to wait on the boat, and prepares to leave with the others, but a giant squid suddenly appears. It attacks them with its tentacles, and as Kimi falls off the boat, an eagle catches her and flies away with her. Hikaru realizes it's a Beast Clan ambush, and he injects a poison into his body, which allows him to run on water. The squid launches ink at Mei, but Nakagawa protects him and cuts it into pieces, telling him they can use its ink to cook pasta. We see a bird master named Kota, who claims that he's the world's fastest man, but Hikaru can tell he isn't from the Beast Clan's main family. Hikaru asks him what his clan wants, so he reveals that he doesn't know, but notes that they offer to pay him billions if he defeats Hikaru. He explains that he took Kimi hostage, because his clan told him it would be easier to defeat Hikaru if he went after her first. But he starts to tell Hikaru about his origin story, so he realizes Kota doesn't know when to stop talking. He asks Kota how to get rid of the collar, but he reveals that he doesn't know, and orders his birds to attack Hikaru. They immediately surround him, so he injects himself with his poison that improves his physical abilities, and he rushes forward, but Kota hits him with a baseball bat. Hikaru can't believe how fast he is, and the birds continue to attack him, as Kota realizes he can defeat Hikaru, because he doesn't specialize in fighting. We see a beast master named Toshiro, who watches Hikaru's fight with Kota, and his mate Yako wonders if Hikaru will lose. But Toshiro tells her it won't happen, because he knows that Hikaru is up to something. The birds surround him again, but he creates a smoke screen, and Kota thinks he used poison gas. So he prepares to blow it away, but Hikaru suddenly punches him in the face. Toshiro realizes he fell for Hikaru's trap, and we learn that he used scented smoke to scare him, so that he could close the distance and take him down. He prepares to ask him about the Beast Clan, but Kota immediately starts to give away information, and reveals that their base is on the mountain peak. He thinks Hikaru will never get there, and he starts to spill their secrets, but his collar suddenly starts to choke him, and Toshiro uses its mic to speak to Hikaru. He wonders why Hikaru accepts bodyguard jobs that don't pay well, so he explains that he's doing it to meet girls, and reveals that he's looking for someone to marry. Toshiro finds him amusing, and tells him not to bother with Kimi, since she's so weak that she'll weaken his bloodline, but he refuses to listen to him. Mei sees something approaching, but Nakagawa knows it's a bomb, so he pushes Mei down before it explodes. Kota goes berserk, and he suddenly stabs Hikaru, who realizes he has turned his birds into a spear. Hikaru notices he's using the moves of the Spearmaster, who can unleash 88 thrusts per second, and he overwhelms Hikaru with a flurry of attacks. We learn that Toshiro used cross-sanguination to combine bloodlines so that he can create new masters, and Kota is one of his experiments, so he has high expectations for him. He thinks Hikaru is about to lose, so he tells Yako to watch with him, but realizes she has already left to collect a sample. We see Mei carrying Nakagawa, who was injured in the explosion, and we learn that the currents took them to the other side of the island. Mei sees a white bear and thinks it will kill him, but it starts to do karate instead, and he's amazed since its form is perfect. He realizes it has a black belt, and he praises its performance, but he freaks out as he senses its bloodlust. We return to Kota, as he turns his birds into a giant baseball bat, and he takes a swing at Hikaru, but his birds suddenly fall to the ground. He realizes they got poison when they bit Hikaru, and he reveals that he has muscle relaxant poison in his body, but it has no effect on him since he's resistant to it. Kota's eagle also gets poisoned, so he starts to fall, but he refuses to accept defeat. So he orders his birds to attack Hikaru, but Hikaru dodges them and slams him into the ground. After that, Kota wonders why Hikaru spared him, so Hikaru explains that it's because he isn't a bad person. He knows Kota was just being controlled by the Beast Clan, and he notes that he'll beat Hikaru next time. But Toshiro suddenly kills him, and reveals that he made the bloodlines in Kota's body reject each other, which caused him to self-destruct. He explains that the branch families are just pawns for the Beast Clan, so he used Kota as his test subject, and he reveals that his blood is needed to remove Kimi's collar. His bat takes the birds away, and he tells Hikaru to find him, so that the entire Beast Clan can greet him. We return to Mei, who panics when the bear finds him, but Nakagawa wakes up, and he instantly cuts it down. He realizes there's an eel sucking his blood, and the bear suddenly gets back up, but it just takes the eel and runs off. We see that Yako was inside the bear, and she takes the sample to Toshiro, who notes that he now has Nakagawa and Hikaru's blood, so he can start working on his masterpiece. We see Hikaru with Kimi, and he tells her they need to stop Toshiro, but she knows he hasn't recovered yet. So she orders her hamsters to knock him down, and he falls on her lap. She thinks she's useless, since she can't even help him when he's in trouble, but he tells her he doesn't care, and that he'll defeat the entire Beast Clan if that's what it takes to save her. She orders her hamsters to make a map of the island, which he thinks will help them find Toshiro, and she boasts about how useful her skills are. She decides to cook food for him, and her hamsters give her the ingredients she needs for her family's secret recipe. She cooks it in the cave, and tells him to eat it, but he doesn't want to do it since he only eats the food he makes himself. She insists that he try it, so he opens his mouth, but he recalls how his master taught him not to let his guard down, because anyone can use food to poison him. He decides to eat it anyway, and tells her it's the best food he's ever tasted, so she's glad he liked it, and reveals that her brother used to make it for her before he disappeared. After that, they both go to sleep, but Hikaru wakes up as he senses danger, and he sees the raccoon squad outside. They note that he's outnumbered, but he tells them to be quiet, since he doesn't want to disturb Kimi. They think he's cocky, and explain that he doesn't stand a chance against them, but he easily defeats them all, and he's glad he finally has a chance to rest. But he sees Toshiro behind him, and he wonders what happened to Kimi. Toshiro tastes the food she made, but thinks it's terrible, and Hikaru asks him what he did to her, so he mentions that he got rid of her. He realizes her glasses look just like Hikaru's, and he throws them away, but he reveals that he was just joking. He explains that she's still alive, and tells Hikaru he needs his blood to perfect cross-sanguination, but reveals that he wants him to be close to death, so that his bloodline won't reject the process. He tells Hikaru to risk it all, revealing that Kimi has been taken away, and he explains that she'll die if Hikaru doesn't save her. Hikaru suddenly attacks him, so he jumps away and hides behind his men, and he tells Hikaru to hurry if he doesn't want Kimi to die. He injects himself with a double dose of toxins, and sends the men flying, while Toshiro watches from his lab, and realizes his experiments are no match for Hikaru. Hikaru sees the path to Toshiro's lab, but realizes there are countless masters in his way, and we learn that they're all trash, but Toshiro thinks they will overwhelm him with their numbers. He fights them head-on, but realizes there are too many of them, so he changes his tactics, and rushes past them as he sends them flying. But one of them manages to pin him down, and he's immediately surrounded. He thinks about using a triple dose, but he knows his body can't handle it, and he recalls how his master told him he can't die until he creates an incurable poison as the clan's future leader. Toshiro can't believe he lost to a bunch of weaklings, but water suddenly comes out of the ground, and the masters get launched into the air. Shizuku makes her entrance, and she knows Toshiro is watching, so she asks him why he hired hundreds of trash masters when he could have just hired her instead. She reveals that she received a job offer from Mei, and thought it was the perfect chance to repay her debt to Hikaru, so she decided to accept it. The masters get back up, and she realizes she underestimated them, since she thought they wouldn't survive her attack. We cut to Nakagawa, who wonders why Hikaru is going so far just to help Kimi, so Mei tells him about Operation White Knight, where Hikaru is trying to make girls fall for him by saving them. Mei explains that he's already helped a couple of girls, and thinks he looked amazing when he saved them, but a group of masters suddenly attacks Nakagawa, so he takes them out. He thinks Hikaru is fighting other masters, but he isn't sure if he can beat them since he doesn't specialize in combat, but Mei tells him not to worry, since he already called for backup. We return to Shizuku, as she shoots the masters with her water gun, but she runs out of water, and realizes the masters are tougher than she thought. Hikaru tells her he has a plan, and she suddenly surrounds them with water, while he releases his poison gas. The masters cover their mouths, but the poison still gets into their bodies, since Hikaru combined his poison with Shizuku's mist. The masters pass out, and she tells him she doesn't like taking orders from him, but he thanks her for saving his life. Kimi wakes up in a cell, and realizes she's in a room with the other Beast Clan rejects, so she comes up with a plan, and launches a hamster into a vent. She struggles because of her collar, and she recalls how Toshiro mentioned she only had 3 days to live, so she thinks she's about to die. In a flashback, we see Kimi being captured by a group of men, and one of them prepares to give her a drug that will clean her organs, so that he can sell them on the black market. We learn that she struggled to make ends meet after her brother disappeared, so she accepted a job to spy on the gang, even though she knew she wasn't up to the task. The man prepares to give her the drug, but there's suddenly an explosion, and Hikaru suddenly appears. He rushes toward the gang, so they open fire, but he dodges their bullets, and easily takes them out. She thanks him for saving her life, and he tells her he's just doing his job, but she immediately falls in love with him and becomes his #1 fan. Back in the present, Kimi thinks about how Hikaru had issues, so she thought he didn't care about her, but she realized he has grown into a fine person, since he decided to risk his life just to save her. Her hamster returns with a group of rats, and their leader tells her they're all in position, so she uses her powers to create a rat network. The rats help her communicate with the other prisoners, and she invites all of them to stand with her and raise hell. Nakagawa finds a shortcut to the lab, and he sees Toshiro's elite unit, but he instantly wipes them out. He enters the lab with Mei, and sees Toshiro working on his experiment, as he tells Yako to buy time for him. So Yako uses her powers to get pumped up, and crushes Nakagawa with all her might. In a flashback, we see Yako with her mother, and we learn that the other members of the Beast Clan look down on them, since they don't form bonds with their partners. Her mother collapses because of her injuries, so Yako heads to the doctor, and begs him to give them medicine, but he refuses to help them since they're outcasts. Yako's mother ends up passing away, so Yako buries her, but wonders why everyone in their clan doesn't like them. She ends up meeting Toshiro, who tells her that he also can't stand their clanmates, and he invited her to change the world with him. Back in the present, Yako continues to attack Nakagawa, but he instantly cuts her down, and he tells Toshiro he deserves to die, since he sacrifices his people to achieve his goal. He walks past Nakagawa to get to Yako, who apologizes for failing him, but he tells her he has completed his masterpiece, and his experiment breaks out of its chamber. He puts her in its body, which allows her to control it, and she charges at Nakagawa. He dodges encounters with his knife, but she sends him flying, and he realizes he needs a bigger weapon to defeat her. He realizes there are skeletons everywhere, so he takes the bones of a giant monster and uses it to smash her. But it still has no effect, and she hits him with her claws. He realizes she's tougher than he thought, but he comes up with an idea, and uses the bones to blind her. He prepares to stab her from behind, but she suddenly turns around and punches him away. He crashes to the ground, and Toshiro reveals that he mixed all the blood into the monster, which is why it's stronger than him. His phone suddenly rings, so he tells Mei to get it for him, and his girlfriend Marin tells him to make room in his schedule since she wants to attend a concert with him. Toshiro tells Yako to finish him off, so she hits him with everything she's got, but he blocks the attack and notes that Marin called him to get him fired up. Yako launches a barrage of spikes, but he dodges them with ridiculous speed, and she attacks him with her claws, but he jumps and cuts her arm off. He attacks her with her own arm, but he thinks he can make it even stronger, and he combines it with the head of a monster. He launches the arm toward her, and it blows a hole into her chest, so she crashes to the ground. He prepares to deal with Toshiro, but he suddenly collapses, and he tells Mei he needs to rest for 5 minutes. He immediately falls asleep, but Yako tells Toshiro to drain her blood so that he can absorb her powers into his body. He decides to follow her wish, and Mei knows Nakagawa can't fight, so he decides to run away with him, but Toshiro suddenly gets in their way. A stream of water suddenly forces the door open, and Hikaru appears with Shizuku, who notes that she's charging extra for the move she used. Nakagawa notes that he hasn't recovered yet, but he can now move his body, and they all prepare to fight together. We learn that Toshiro's masterpiece is a fusion of 93 species, and it even has the blood of 6 masters, which is why its power is on another level. He used it to unlock Yako's full potential, but we learn that it was always meant to be absorbed by him, so that he could use its powers. He transforms his arm into a monster, which attacks everyone at once, and Mei realizes her friends have been knocked out. We return to Kimi, as the prisoners hear her invitation, but they decide not to join her, since they still can't get over the deaths of their partners, who were sacrificed to create the monster. They think resistance is futile, since they know they can't defeat it, and they recognize her as the weakest member of the clan, so they think there's no point listening to her. Hikaru gets back up, and Mei realizes he used a triple dose, but thinks he has already passed out from an overdose. Toshiro tells him he doesn't know when to quit, and he attacks with his monster arm, but Hikaru suddenly appears behind him. We learn that Hikaru's poison blood got stronger because of his near-death experiences, so he can now handle a triple dose, and he charges at Toshiro. Toshiro jumps away with his kangaroo legs, and prepares to attack Hikaru with his claws, but Hikaru suddenly kicks him in the head. Mei thinks the fight is over, but Toshiro suddenly transforms, and he hides underground. Hikaru is surrounded by mole snakes, so he hits them with his poison needles, but Toshiro tells him it's useless since he's immune to poison. The mole snakes attack him, but he cuts them down, and Toshiro tells him he's the most gifted master in their generation, but wonders why he only uses his talents to protect people. Toshiro tells him he can't win with his current attitude, since a battle between assassins is determined by bloodlust, and he screams as he unleashes his ultimate move. The spirits of the sacrificial beasts rush toward Hikaru, but they pass right through him, and Toshiro realizes he's dodging them at the last possible moment. He tells Toshiro he's right, since his bloodlust ran out ages ago, and he reveals that he now wants to find happiness. He removes his glove, as he explains that while he was looking for a bride, he realized he couldn't find happiness alone, so he decided to keep helping people. He puts his fingers together, as he tells Toshiro it's all over, and we learn that he has mastered the Corporal Kodoku, a poison master's ultimate toxin. Its effects depend on the master's nature, but it's known to be so deadly that it kills in one touch, and the victim can't survive since it's incurable. His fingers unleash a burst of energy, and the spirits rush toward him again, so he launches his blood at them. Toshiro reminds him he's immune to poison, but his spirits are suddenly destroyed, and the toxin spreads to his arms, so he quickly cuts them off. He realizes Hikaru awakened a new power, so he gets fired up and slices off his limbs, as he transforms into a massive chimera. He unleashes a powerful scream, which causes the spikes in the ceiling to fall, so Hikaru dodges them as he rushes forward, and Toshiro prepares to take him on. He opens his mouth to bite Hikaru, but he jumps and touches him from above, and the poison spreads through his body. Toshiro bleeds and falls to the ground, and he thinks he's about to meet his end, but he refuses to go down without a fight, and he decides to take Mei with him. He rushes to eat him, but he suddenly stops moving, and he realizes the prisoners have escaped. We learn that Kimi was able to convince them to join her, by telling them the monster won't harm them, since the souls of their fallen partners are inside it. They use animal sounds to talk to their partners, and the spirits of the sacrificial beasts leave Toshiro to hug their masters, who are overjoyed to be with them again. Toshiro starts to lose it, but Hikaru suddenly grabs onto him and slams his head to the ground to finish him off. He uses Toshiro's blood to destroy Kimi's collar, and everyone celebrates their victory. In a flashback, we see Toshiro on his 13th birthday, where he prepares to undergo the rite of the beast's blood, where he will receive his lifetime partner. Everyone thinks he'll get a powerful beast, since he seems fit to lead their clan, but the head of the clan gives him a bat, and everyone talks behind his back. He can't believe he's being given such a weak beast, but their leader stares at him, so he has no choice but to accept it. He thinks their leader gave him a bat since he didn't want him to take over, but Toshiro goes crazy and kills everyone so he can lead the clan. Back in the present, Toshiro wonders how he's still alive since he was hit by Hikaru's deadliest toxin. So Hikaru reveals that his poison isn't lethal because he only fights to protect people. Toshiro tells him the blood of the 5 great families is a curse since they need to keep fighting to stay in power, but Hikaru disagrees and notes that he'll spend the rest of his life proving it isn't true. Nakagawa asks Toshiro if he has other dangerous plans, but his bat suddenly distracts Nakagawa, and Yako uses the chance to run away with him. She trips and falls, and he asks her what she's thinking, so she tells him she wants to start over with him. Nakagawa and Hikaru chase after them, but a giant wolf suddenly appears and catches them, as its master Tanako introduces herself as the head of the Beast Clan. She explains that she needs to get rid of them since they've crossed the line, but she knows Hikaru is looking for a wife, so she tells him to consider her as she leaves. After that, Shizuka gives Hikaru and his friends a ride, and Kimi notes that the masters they've saved are grateful to them, so they've decided to see them off. They use their beasts to put on a show, and her hamsters join the performance, which everyone finds cute. The masters use their lights to thank Hikaru for saving them, and Kimi explains she couldn't do much since her powers are pathetic, but she still promises to keep doing her best. Mei thinks it's Kimi's chance to take her relationship with Hikaru to the next level, so he starts a conversation, and everyone talks about their love lives. He asks Nakagawa about his girlfriend, so he explains that he enjoys every moment he spends with her, and admits that he isn't a good person since he has killed countless people. But he learned to be happy after he met her, and he'll do anything in order to protect his life with her. Hikaru can't believe he said everything with a straight face, and thinks he's nothing compared to him, but Mei thinks the stage is finally set. He tells Hikaru that Kimi is into him, but explains that she also idolizes him, so it's all over if he messes up. Mei tells him to keep it together, so that he can ask for her number, and as they approach the city, Mei notes that it's almost time to say goodbye. Hikaru realizes it's time to make his move, but he suddenly freezes, since he doesn't know how to talk to girls who like him. Kimi wonders what's wrong with him, and Mei thinks he's cooked, but she suddenly confesses her feelings. She admits that she likes him, and explains that she threw herself at him, since she knew he was looking for a bride. But she realized she isn't worthy to be his wife, since she isn't good at anything. She knows she'll just be a burden to him if he marries her, but she promises to improve herself, so that she can make him fall in love with her. She becomes embarrassed and tells everyone to forget what she said, but Hikaru thanks her for thinking about him, and notes that no one has ever confessed their feelings to him. He asks for her number, and as Mei watches them exchange contacts, he hopes they will end up getting married. Shizuka takes everyone to the shore, and tells Mei she'll hunt her down if she doesn't send payment, but everyone realizes Nakagawa has already left them. We see him with Marin, who asks about his trip to the island, so he explains that it was rough, but notes that he was able to hang out with Hikaru and the others. She's glad he was able to make friends, which surprises him since he thought he would never have any, and they leave to eat dinner. Mei asks Kimi what she plans to do next, and she notes that she'll start a detective agency to find out what happened to her brother. After she leaves, Hikaru notes that the girls that they met are amazing, so he wants to keep working on himself so that he can become a better match for them. We cut to Hikaru's master, as he goes to see Hikaru's brother Teruki, and asks him if he likes the new poison bath. He explains that he enjoyed it even though he almost died, and they start to discuss Hikaru's marriage, which he finds interesting. We see Hikaru and Mei in a restaurant, where a girl asks them for relationship advice, because 3 of her friends want to go out with her, but Hikaru doesn't know what to tell her. We learn that Mei is also a love evangelist, who gives relationship advice to his followers, and he invited Hikaru to tag along. Hikaru thought it was the perfect chance to improve his charm, so he decided to go for it, but he's starting to regret his decision. Mei ends up telling the girl to date all 3 of the guys, and she decides to follow his advice, but Hikaru realizes they're just getting started. An athlete reveals that he wants to go out with his team's manager, but everyone likes her, so he doesn't know how to win her heart. Mei tells Hikaru to help him, so he tells the man to put his heart into it, but after their meeting, he immediately heads to the bathroom and cleans it to clear his mind. He doesn't know if he gave the right advice, but Mei tells him they need to keep going, and they meet their next clients, but he can't stand listening to their problems. He reaches his limit and prepares to inject himself with a poison that will improve his communication skills, but Mei stops him from doing it. He thinks he's hopeless since he can't solve people's problems, but Mei tells him it's okay and explains that he just wanted him to understand that there are no right answers and that everyone overthinks their love problems. Mei reminds him how he lost confidence when Kimmy confessed her feelings to him and tells him it's okay since he's just like the people who came to them for advice. At night, Mei tells Hikaru they should eat together to celebrate, but he explains that he already has other plans. He mentions how his life changed after they met, and notes that they've been through a lot, but he enjoyed every moment that they spent together. He hopes Mei will continue to help him as his marriage advisor, and he tells Hikaru not to worry, since he'll continue to do his best to help him. After that, Hikaru talks to his sister, and she's surprised to learn that his search is going well, but she tells him he needs to hurry, because she knows that Teruki is plotting something. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.